How's it going? This is Dr. Dave Tran, and we have chiropractor Dr. Wade Port. How's it going?
Fantastic. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. So how did you get started in chiropractic?
How I got started. I've told this story a bunch. I'll never stop telling it. I was 17 years old living in Marietta, Georgia, my hometown, the chiropractic mecca, in my opinion. And I was working at a coffee house off Marietta Square. And there was always students from Life University in there studying for boards and finals and always in there. I couldn't have spelled chiropractic if you asked me to. Growing up, we just weren't in that model. And one day this gal says, "Well, Wade, what do you know about chiropractic?" And I said, "Nothing." And she said, "Well, I adjust people for free at my house on Sundays. Come on by." And I thought, hey, why not? And I was interested enough, and I got over there, and there was a big pile of shoes on the front step, and I was greeted, the door opens with wafts of incense and, nice meditation music and candlelight and lamplight. And there were tables in the living room and the kitchen and dining room and people on the tables moving and making sound. And as a 17-year-old kid, I'm kind of on one hand, like, what the hell is going on? Where am I? But there was always something inside of me that knew, like, you're in the right place. Sure. And what I'll never forget, Dave, is that this was my chiropractic lay lecture. And I think it stands for us to remember. Here's what she said simply: Wade, through this life, we become desensitized to our bodies and our life. I'm going to help you become resensitized. Lay down. And so whether it was the first, second, or third visit or Sunday that I went over there, now when I was on the table, I just felt these ripples of energy just moving through, and this release is happening that were very, very powerful. I was already on a path of expanding consciousness and this type of stuff. But this really hit me in a different way, a new way, from the inside out, if you will. And so it was only a matter of time before I knew through and through that I'm a chiropractor. Yeah. And I was more told that than pondered it, and I accepted. And now what I found out later, that what she was doing was called network spinal analysis. Now I thought that all chiropractors were beautiful, long, flowing blonde hair, hippie dresses and bare feet and lots of hugs. So, that's deductive reasoning, isn't it? That's what I thought all chiropractors did.
Sure.
And so I had a real root to that. I just knew something. Network spinal analysis, that's something that I'm going to, look into and do. I thought that that's what chiropractors did. That's what it was called. And of course I found out later that was absolutely not the case.
Sure.
But that was my start. That was my awakening to this and answering the call at a very young age. So I knew I was going to go to Life University, but I put it in my pocket and went about being a 17-year-old for a while longer until it was time to go.
Yeah. And then you remember what it was like when you first enrolled into Life University for you?
I do. I got up to school, back to Marietta, my hometown. I decided I'm not going to live with my family. I'm going to go and do the student experience in grad school. And when I got there, I was just this bright-eyed, fired up kid to finally get there. And I remember being a way of like, hey, where's the network spinal analysis class? And this was in 1999, 2000. And Dr. Sid Williams was the president, and he had a real reign of leadership in here. And I remember, the students and just looked at me like I had horns growing out of my head. And like, we don't do that stuff around here, boy. And I was confused. I was like, well, what do you mean? I don't understand. But then first quarter hits you, and we actually used books back then, and a ton of books land in your lap. And you quickly have to sink or swim.
Sure.
I eventually found the network club hiding out in a basement of a dingy church, and I found them and started to learn it. But that was getting to school. It was a little bit, I was feeling much more progressive than maybe even historically the culture on campus was at the time. But I had to find the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you bring up and, having to study and, you go through boards and so forth like that. So how did you balance between, learning and growing within chiropractic, but also, doing what you had to do was, pass classes and, get through boards?
Dave, I have no idea how I passed chiropractic school. It is still, I look back in Pasquale Sarasoli, you can see him behind me here, was one of my greatest teachers and mentors. And, he said, when you walk across that stage, let it be a blur. and in many ways, a lot of it is. And partly because we threw the best parties at chiropractic school back in my day, me and my roommate. But honestly, I don't know how I got through it. I could definitely say that, God's hand was behind everything, and it always has been, and it still is. And I'm grateful for that. But there was no balance, Dave. I didn't find balance. It was do what I needed to do in class. And I was on every seminar, every workshop, everything. I volunteered. There was no peak internship program when I was in school. I volunteered at 5 different chiropractic offices and just doing everything I could. I was because this isn't academically, this is chiropractic. I was the president of 3 different clubs, the founder of one, an officer in another. And so it was just, we had a lot of fun, but we lived, ate, breathed chiropractic nonstop. And class was not the important piece for me. I knew it. I had a sense of what it was. It was, what it is today for me is these kids are in med school with a side elective at best in some schools of chiropractic.
Sure.
And the clinical nature of it is so rampant that I had a good sense of what was important and what wasn't. And chiropractic was important. My grades were not.
And then, so you got through chiropractic school, you passed boards, and then did you open up shop right when you graduated, or did you work for somebody, or what was a career like in the beginning?
Well, I'll tell you, let's back up to school. And so I had that powerful experience when I was younger. And then when I went down to undergrad, I hurt my back playing tennis and was in the emergency room. They lifted me off the couch. I couldn't move for 2 days. I was in tears, and I'm in the emergency room signing in. And that boy said, "You're in the wrong place." And I'm like, "Oh, you're right." So I look and I tell the lady, I apologize. I push the forms back at her and I say, "I'm in the wrong place." And I turn around and head out the door because I knew there was a chiropractic office on the way to school.
Wow.
So I go in, and everybody's wearing scrubs. The doctor's walking around in a 3-piece Brooks Brothers suit with a white lab coat down to the floor with a stethoscope around his neck. And I feel like out of place. I'm like, what? This is confusing, but I'm in a lot of pain. What's going on? Next thing you know, I'm in the back room, half naked. They're shocking me. They're rubbing jellies on me, and they're doing all this. And I'm just like, what is going on? Get me out of here. And then I found Dr. Rick Franks, who is down in Greensboro, Georgia, and he became my mentor while I was in undergrad.
Okay.
And I'm so grateful for that. Now, when I got to the point in school where they're teaching us how to adjust, I had a freak out moment. It was, what in the hell is this?
Sure.
And it was, oh my God. I never questioned being a chiropractor, but I questioned hard what was going on, and of this stuff that they were showing me what to do to another human being's spine. And it freaked me out. I was in a very dark place very quickly. And because, guess how long I had been looking forward to learning how to adjust people, right, for a long time. And Tracy Wright, my sister in Jamaica, was my roommate. And she said, hey, there's a seminar this weekend. why don't you come? And I said, absolutely, let's go. And that's when I met Arno Bernier.
Oh, okay.
And so that was early on in my schooling. And when I met Arno, it all clicked and came together. And it was just this giant sigh of relief that, thank God, this man is teaching me how to apply with my two hands what I know in my heart to be possible with chiropractic. And I've been a devoted servant of the MLS culture, which has sprung up big time all over the globe now, and had different avenues pouring out, which is beautiful, because that's always been the vision of Arno's, to elevate the consciousness of the profession. And it's happening big time right now. So I still am a lead staff for MLS seminars, and travel the globe.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What Arno has mentored and taught with me. So I graduated and went straight out to Sun Valley, Idaho, 3,000 miles away from home in the Rocky Mountains, and opened up shop, my Cafe of Life, and 100% cash practice, straight from the get-go. I opened with zero capital. It took me $0 to open shop. I like sharing that with the students who think that they have to go take out another huge loan. It's not necessary, even maybe especially in today's world. It's very important. A student turned me on and changed my life forever. So for the students who think maybe one day, someday I'll be the doctor to help people, no, today. I don't care if you're an undergrad and you don't adjust yet, you know chiropractic, and you can share it with people, and you can start a practice on nothing but your vision and your hard work and dedication. And so off and running. And I just celebrated 14 years in practice.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And that's huge too, because with all the student loans now, just to get through school, because it's all buffered with all these different classes that you were talking about before too, and it's like, what's left, it's this, a lot of times students are super jaded, after they get out of school with this fear of having to pay this back. And now there's so many people out there that are, helping a lot of students, but it does get a little confusing, and it's nice and refreshing to hear that you're able to do this with zero having to take loans out. So that's huge. Yeah. And then so now that you've been in practice for 14 years now, and then what are some awesome practice member or client testimonies that you've been able to encounter throughout these years?
You name it. Let's just talk about my morning.
Sure, let's do it.
So from people, I tend to attract some pretty difficult stuff, and because I don't know, I'm fearless with it. I have absolute trust, and this is going to go back to my MLS roots. And Arno put us through the fire, and of the trust in life, the trust in ourselves, the trust in nature, the trust in chiropractic. And my trust is so deep that life sends me stuff and people that need that type of unwavering understanding of the principle, obedience to the principle. And so, yeah, I see some wild stuff. But I also love to see pregnant mommies and babies and everything in between. I've had the great fortune of being Tony Robbins' personal chiropractor for many years, and that's a wild ride, I'll tell you. And so just, even before I graduated school, I would just continually have the feeling I could never adjust another person again. And because of that experience with that human being, I could be fulfilled. Now I have that, and I think that's been satiated over time to say, now I'm more seasoned to those miraculous things happening so often that it's like, yep, great. Now next, right? Let's keep setting them free. But oh man, I tell you, it's Google. You'll let them tell you the great story.
Exactly right. So for the people out there that haven't heard of MLS, and a 30,000 feet up. What is MLS?
So MLS, Arno Bernier had some of the most powerful mentors and teachers in chiropractic. I believe he was in the first class of Sherman College, and with some powerful people. And he, like me, on a bigger scale, when I got to adjusting class and I said, what in the world is that? Well, that's what he had done 25 years earlier, when he looked around at the profession as a whole and said, we're the only profession around that has gotten more mediocre over time. And so he actually created it in a way, because of his background, his training, his consciousness and mindset of, nobody is teaching chiropractors how to truly train like professionals. And the training came about not only, in its body, mind, spirit. And so in the same way that he has always advocated that chiropractic schools include things like martial arts in their programs, more nature studies, and even in straight up, he was sincere when he's like, I think it should be a part of every chiropractic student's curriculum that they spend 2 months minimum in nature by themselves. So this is the consciousness that he brought to us. And then he developed a system of teaching chiropractors how to adjust from a place of physiological peace and ease, with lightning speed and specificity, that anybody who gets adjusted by a seasoned MLS practitioner, if you will, which it's not a technique, it's an approach to any technique. So that's what it was, a system that could be applied to any technique you want. They always know the difference. Their eyes do this and say, that was different. And so it was a real integrity call for the profession. So advent of insurance, and even before that, and just all of this mechanistic, manhandling and violation of people's spines and spirits was not okay. And thank God he came along and decided to do something about it, and has had a wonderful vision, mission, and purpose of inspiring so many. If you look at pretty much any top level professional adjusting seminar going on out there today, they trained with Arnaud Bernier. And I'm one of those fortunate people that crossed paths and really took it.
Absolutely. And Arnaud is a huge mentor of mine as well too, and, I'm looking forward from learning from you as well too. So now that you have taken this role as one of the lead instructors, what are some things that you've been able to kind of see, now in the current culture in regards to, like the chiropractors that are attending it that have been in practice, or like with the students now? Has it evolved over time, or, is it pretty much everyone's coming in there with a blank slate? What do you see right now in the profession in regards to where everyone's at?
That's a great question. And on most levels, Dave, it's all the same.
Sure.
Because we're all human. We're all having the same challenges, the same wounds, and the same things, and need to be awakened on the same types of levels, whether it is an understanding of the principle and the laws of nature, or if it's healing our own wounds so that we may be a clear vessel for healing. But certainly a newer phenomenon, as I'm sure you're aware of, is, I don't know what the percentage is, but 50%, 60% of the students coming into school today have never been adjusted.
Right.
They're in second quarter, and I ask them about their chiropractic experience. They're like, oh, I've actually never been adjusted. And they're in second quarter of the DC program. Now, I understand I come from a different place. I knew at 17 years old I was a chiropractor, even though I didn't grow up with it. And so that has its challenges, because if you go back 50, 60, 100 years ago, people were leaving their day job at 45, 55, 60 years old to go to Palmer because their child's life was saved by their chiropractor, or something miraculous turned around in their life. Someone who had a death sentence, their life was saved, like Pasquale. great example. He said, whatever helps me get through this, he had tremendous health challenges as a child, I will devote my life to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never seen anybody who devoted their life to chiropractic as much as Pasquale did. And that's just an example of who we had in the profession.
Mm-hmm.
And now coming in and through school, we have kids who threw a dart at a board and it missed veterinary and it hit chiropractic. Or, you know, some statistics come out, just like a magazine says, hey, best place to raise your children in the country. Well, great, let's go there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no connection to that region. There's no connection. So it's challenging in that way, but I can see it also as a blank slate. It's a clean slate. And if they can get exposed to a training like MLS from the get-go, we're in good shape. But it's just a different culture and dynamic now with that.
Yep. And then now, you know, as our final question, now knowing all the things that you have learned from, you know, starting chiropractic school and going through there and, you know, and opening up practice and now, you know, and meeting and now mentoring a lot of students and chiropractors with MLS, what advice would you give Wade that just was enrolling at Life University for the first quarter, now that you know all these different things?
Great question, because I do reflect on it. So just the advice for me.
Mm-hmm.
In school, I don't know that I would change anything.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Coming out of school, being so confident in the principal and my skills. My skills were really high level for a graduating student. And so I had full confidence and faith, unwavering, that I could go into practice and deliver the goods from the get-go. One thing I do reflect on is that and it's perfect, you know, in this question is like, would I do? No, I wouldn't do anything over. It's perfect. And it's still unfolding as it would. But I think it would have been great to have been in a higher volume office to get coded with that frequency.
Yep.
To really get that rhythm as my baseline.
Sure.
Because I've really, I think, because of starting on my own and doing mainly stuff like just straight up tonal work, if you will, the culture in tonal, which by the way is a total misnomer. It's all tonal work.
Sure.
Because D.D. Palmer told us chiropractic is founded upon
tone.
So guess what, everybody? I don't care what you're doing. It is all tonal work. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, but I think for conversation, you know what I mean? That culture, quite frankly, I see a lot of people coming out with the biggest hearts and the biggest dedication to their craft really struggle in practice. And then I also see people who did not get the grounding in the philosophy and the craft and the artistry. They might have boats and fancy cars, but they're not practicing really anything that remotely looks like chiropractic. It's all business, and which we better have. And it's just, they might as well have a window cleaning company. It's not the juice that chiropractic has for us in the fullness of really serving the principle and serving the people. So I want to see more people in the model of BGI and NSA and all these really artistic craft tonal models really kick butt from the beginning and have some mentors that have very successful higher volume practices and go for it from the get-go.
That's awesome. So, you know, I mean, thank you so much for sharing with us today. If you want to reach out to Dr. Wade Port, we'll have all the information listed down below. And then so much information. I hope you guys were taking lots of notes. And thank you so much, Dr. Wade, for being with us today.
Dave, it's a privilege, man. It's great to see you.
Perfect.